Hey, welcome to Two Beers with the Band podcast. My name's Harkos. I just edit everything around here, but I wanted to hop in here really quick and welcome you to part 2 of the great interview with Silverboy. Now, if you haven't already watched part 1, make sure you go back and check out part 1. And of course, like, share, follow, subscribe, and drop some comments down below as you're watching this episode. Put in some comments, join the conversation, and Chris will get back to you. I promise he will comment back to you and join you in the conversation. So if you have any questions about anything that Silverboy talks about, or on any of the episodes here on Two Beers with the Band podcast, you got any questions about anything, or maybe you're an artist who wants to hop on Two Beers with the Band podcast, make sure you drop something down below, or of course, you can hit Two Beers with the Band podcast up on all the socials. To bwb.net is where you can find all the links. But anyway, I just wanted to welcome you to part 2 of this great conversation right here with Silverboy, and without further ado, let's get into it.
It's hopelessly stupid. Yeah, I know. You didn't know just what you had until you lost it.
All right, guys, we're back from first intermission, and I'm going to go ahead and crack this second Corona, cause pretty happy with this. I have a feeling I'm probably going to be drinking a few more of these before the interview is over. But we were talking about promoting music and self-promotion and how artists generally don't do a good job of promoting themselves. What do you think is the biggest way an artist can promote themselves if they don't have the luxury of having a job where they interact with different customers?
Well, the necessary evil is definitely the social media game, because your reach is global. We didn't have these tools when I started, and they're definitely play a huge role in getting your music out there. The most important thing you can do is write a good song, of course, and get a halfway decent recording, which with today's technology and whatnot, anybody should be able to do in their bedroom or office or closet. It doesn't take too much. At the end of the day, it's all about the song and the performance, and so making sure that is really good, because that's paramount, is having the music. And then, of course, finding out who you are and how you want to convey yourself as an artist or as a character, and really leaning into that and being personable with your audience and connecting. Everybody does it differently, but whether you're starting your own podcast like you've done, Chris, or a YouTube channel, or, if you're a good DJ, making playlists, you can connect with other people by being a good song selector, making mixtapes, if you will, and getting it out there that way. And then eventually, if you do enough of it, people will come back and be like, oh, he's cool, or they're cool. Let's see what they do. And then maybe they would discover your art that way. But, we all going to work a lot of different jobs in order to get where we're going. And some of us still do it. And some people straddle those lines till the end of their career. And that's fine. The world is a strange place, and like the numbers don't really add up with how much work everybody has to do. And we're fighting the good fight against, being the working man and not having healthcare in this country. There's so many like problems, issues, the minimum wage being so low. Don't get the Silverboy started on all that, but you know what I'm saying? So you just got to work, hard, and be true to yourself, write good songs, be kind. It goes a lot further. My grandma used to say, catch a lot more flies with honey than you do vinegar.
That's true.
That kind of thing.
True.
So how about don't be a dickhead. Don't be an asshole. Try to, see what they're doing on in the administration currently, and maybe do the exact opposite of that. That would be my advice.
You say connecting with your audience. Do you think the small venues here in Nashville can promote that style of connection?
If done right, I mean, again, okay, if you book a show and you're lucky enough to get booked at a cool new or old venue, you can't just like get on the bill and expect everybody to show up. You know,
Right.
I would go and make fun, make a video, it's not just posting a picture, but you have to do so much more because you have to think of yourself as the label and as the promoter, because you are, and these people that are booking your shows, as much as they do care, or else they probably wouldn't have you on there. And it is part of their job descriptions to fill the calendar, but you got to work together and reshare what they're sharing and make timely posts. It's all kind of comes down to like formula, and
Right.
I'm not that great at the formula thing. I just like being creative, and I'm an artist. And so if I got to do all the social media bullshit, I'm going to have fun with it and be artistic with it, so
Right.
have fun with it. Find something that like makes you smile and makes you laugh, or makes your friend or your girlfriend or your pet or your dog, whatever, makes them laugh, and do it for them.
Right.
And then people might respond to it better that way, rather than just getting the show and then, oh man, nobody showed up. You got to do more. You're not just going to do a Facebook invite. You're not just going to, you have to do everything, and you should text and call and write and do giveaways. You have to do everything until you don't have to, if you're lucky enough to get that far. But that would be my advice. But, of course, if you're working in all these other professions where there's a certain code of conduct or uniform or what have you, use your head and be smart about when you choose to plug your business or your band or your whatever, because, you want to keep that job.
Right.
Don't shoot yourself in the foot.
Right.
So that would be my advice to young and established art or up and coming artists, stick with it, be good, get really good, practice all the time.
Well, I know you've opened for some interesting bands, some bigger name bands.
All of them.
All of
them.
Well, who were some of your favorite bands to open for?
Man, there's a lot, but you'd laugh at the list. I mean, I look at the list as I've gotten older. I'm like, holy moly, this is insane. Some of them, but let's see. I opened for Whitesnake. That was ridiculous. And is 80s. It was a beer bands and babes festival in West Palm Beach at a big amphitheater. It was Whitesnake, Warrant, Slaughter, and Kip Winger. And my college band, Broken Sound, was on that bill. We were doing the same kind of thing we're doing, making music independently, putting it out there, making flyers. I was always old school, always handing handbills out, posting them, nailing them up at coffee shops and on the, telephone poles around town. Always making flyers. I was always doing some sort of DIY thing at Kinko's back in the day, like ways to get extra copies of different things, different life hacks here and there, But to Whitesnake, that was pretty fun. Wesley Willis, R.I.P. I opened for him in college, and he had that Rock and Roll McDonald's song. And if you don't know Wesley Willis, it's a pretty wild character. He's no longer with us anymore, but he used to headbutt people at the merch booth. And who else? Some fun ones. I opened up for the Buzzcocks in England in like a 15th century castle with another project called Johnny Lives that I was playing with. That was pretty fun. Did Download Festival in England with the Killing Floor.
Yeah.
So we were on bills with Queens of the Stone Age and Motorhead, and so big festivals.
Yeah.
I recently in the last couple of years started playing second guitar with Olivia Jean, who's a Third Man Records artist, and she brought me out on the road with her to for like the last 2 years. It's actually 2 years we've been on and off together, and we opened up for the Hives. We did a whole run of shows with the Swedish band the Hives.
Yeah,
probably the best rock and roll band out there, for my money anyhow. Amazing band, and I always was a fan. So it's cool to get to hang with them nightly and have drinks together. But yeah, I mean, back when I was starting out, I really loved all the Bay Area pop punk and rock and roll bands and a lot of punk stuff. Lookout Records bands, Mr. T Experience, open for them, and the Groovy Ghoulies. So, uh, stuff that I dreamt of doing as a kid, I got to do. I got to check those boxes. I got to play with one of the Ramones, who's one of the last surviving members of the Ramones, the Marky Ramone. I'd played multiple shows with him, both as a singer and as an opening act for his Marky Ramone's Blitzkrieg project. So if you would have told my 15-year-old self in South Florida that I'd be on a tour out in Europe with the drummer of the fucking Ramones, I'd probably be like, slap me, like, this is not true. That's not going to happen. But you stick with something long enough and you be true to yourself and true to rock and roll and the muse. And again, don't burn bridges and, work really hard, practice, get yourself out there, and you never know what's going to happen. I'm living proof.
Well, that's really, really cool that you've been able to play with such unique bands and bands that have huge followings. Who would you like to either play with or open for? Who's your dream show?
Yeah, man. Well, it depends on what era of my life you're asking me in. Like, currently, it's a tough one. Really, I like there's a lot of great bands out there. Back in the day, I was really into Weezer, so it was always like a dream to open up for Weezer. I've met a couple of those guys in my career, and that's been cool, but I've never shared a bill with them. Queens of the Stone Age, I got to play that festival, but it's different to be on a festival bill versus like a support tour type thing. But yeah, they're really cool. I like them a lot. I've got to know Jack White a bit here in Nashville. I wouldn't have met Jack if it wasn't for, from this person to that person to working in the industry and, doing what I do and being a decent person. But yeah, Jack's been really cool to me. And so I'd love to open for him someday. He's one of the best ones out there doing rock and roll. I just caught his band show again, I guess 2 weeks ago at that new venue, the Pinnacle, and he absolutely tore it up. So proud of him and what he's doing. And he's always champion for indie bands and young bands. And yeah, he's an inspiring cat. So yeah, as far as like the modern ones go, like Jack's pretty rad. So I wouldn't mind opening for him.
Where do you find inspiration?
In the middle of the night, 3, 4 in the morning, divine intervention just through the ether. You never know when it's going to come, but I just try to live life to the fullest and try to love really hard and try to open up my receptors to that good juju and that good cosmic, stuff that's floating around out there. And like stardust, really. Yeah. And just try to, so you really never know where it's going to come from. But I love music more than most anything out there. I love life and I love my family, but like music is just so magical. And if you're doing it right, and you might just be experiencing some of that kismet interaction and kismet moments with other people. So, for example, if you have a dream about an old friend of yours, call that friend up and be like, hey, I dreamt of you the other day. And not like in a weird way, but just like kind of closing the gap on those things. So like if you're thinking about somebody, maybe just don't leave it there. Maybe call them up, be like, hey, I was thinking about you, or, it's been a minute since we caught up. And try not to call your friends just when you need them, or your family just when you need them. People need connection and people need the love, especially today. So I find inspiration just, in the trees and in the air, and surely without getting all hippie, like for real, like it's out there. Just open your eyes and open your mind. And yeah, so I get inspiration from many places.
How many unfinished songs do you have?
Jesus. Ask my notes and my phone. I'd say thousands, at least hundreds.
Why is that?
procrastination, the ADHD thing. If you were to give me ADHD medication, I'd probably have a triple or quadruple gatefold LP coming out right after this one, because I'm in no lack of material, got ideas coming all the time. It just comes down to time. That's the one thing, when you're having to work, artists that don't have to do a quote real job or whatever, they can just be an artist. They have all the time in the world. But I find that if you're working and you're out there living, that kind of is inspiring, and that inspires, and you meet other people and gain inspiration from that. Going out, you're not just going to be inspired if you stay in your bedroom, of course, unless you're Sid Barrett and you're tripping out on LSD and in England in a little English garden, or not leaving your bedroom, that kind of thing. You can definitely open up that third eye to a whole other bunch of inspiration. But you know what I'm saying? Like, you got to get out there and live, take your shoes and socks off and feel the earth in your toes, and put your feet in the sand. Those kind of things kind of make you feel something different and resonate with the earth.
Are you an introvert or an extrovert?
Probably more of an extrovert, but I internalize a lot, and I'm a human being. So I definitely have my moments of needing to be alone and being introspective. And I find I do some of my best thinking between the hours of, say, 11 and 5 a.m. Some of the best ideas for songs, for videos, stories. I'm always trying to write. I always try to document. I'm a documentarian. I'm taking it back to my parents. They always had cameras, set up on tripods or filming us. And we made a video for Make Believe over the last couple of years, and I wasn't really happy with it. So until I found a bunch of old family footage from kind of growing up and drawing some parallels between coming up as a young artist or a kid wanting to be an entertainer, and drew those parallels between my artistry now versus like being a child. And so thank goodness for my mom for documenting all that and transferring all those to DVDs, so I spent a lot of time going through old footage and getting nostalgic on the past and trying to pump it into the future to inspire other people of today and the future,
Yeah.
So yeah, just, you never know when you're going to be inspired. I could have a few beers, like real ones back in the day, or a jazz cigarette, and write an album for you that way. That's one way of doing it, and that works too. But as you get older, you forget lyrics. You do the certain drugs and you do the certain amount of booze, and you're not going to be as sound as you are when you're like straight as an arrow.
Yeah.
I like all that stuff. I'm not saying you shouldn't smoke weed. I'm not saying I think you should smoke weed. I definitely think weed opened up my mind immensely. I waited a little longer than most people I was telling you about earlier. I wasn't until I was maybe 17 before I smoked, but I knew people who were smoking weed when they were 10, 11, 12, 13. I don't even know what would happen to me if I would have done it then.
Right.
So it's all about that foundation, So I don't know. It definitely, it helps. Everybody has their tricks and their tools, whatever they use to be creative. But I think if you can get it just naturally, is probably going to be the best. You're going to sing your best. You're going to play your best.
Do you ever experience writer's block?
Yeah, I do. Mainly with not thinking lyrics are good enough. I've always been really good with writing melodies and writing riffs and finishing the music compositions. But as far as the lyrics go, I put them through a total, like, the test, back and forth of like kind of like going over and over and over until I get it right, because I want it to be really good. I don't want to just half-ass it. But then there's other days where you get a song and it just writes itself in that moment. It's done. But some of the songs on this record took years to finish because I was never really happy. We're never really satisfied. Thought it wasn't just right. So I'd put it off, write something else, start another band, do another project, release other things. spend time with family, friends, or whatever, and then come back and be like, that one's a good one. I really need to like, at the end of the day, you have to put in the time,
Yeah.
sit there and force yourself to do it, like novelists would do,
Well, do you think that maybe when you write a song and it's complete, maybe you should just step back from it, walk away from it, move on to something else, and then revisit that song with fresh ears, with a slightly different mindset?
That's always a good idea. Why not? Yeah.
Because if you keep dwelling on that song, it's never going to be good enough.
No, yeah, you're right. I mean, you should definitely move on. There's a time when you got to move on.
Yeah.
And step over to something else to kind of like come back and gain that perspective. Walk away, like I said, go for a walk outside, go for a run. All these things kind of like reframe your brain a little bit. That's why I was talking about connecting with the earth and stuff. Just kind of take your shoes off and step outside. If you have a backyard or a porch, you can go and do that, but don't get hung up too much in the moment. But also make sure you make time when those moments do happen, because they don't happen every day.
Right.
They don't happen every hour. There's no real like schedule. So if it is happening, you make sure you got your pad and paper, and pad and pen, or, we've got these phones, right? They're not just telephones. They got recording devices in them. So it's really nice. That's one of the main things, that the tool aspect of these super like many computers we have with iPhones and whatnot, use them as a tool. I use it for the tuner, right? For my acoustic guitar, I use it to record. I've got notes. I sing in the car. If I have an idea come in my head, I'll sing that melody, hum it in there. And I've got so many different arrangements of different songs in different keys and different parts. And eventually what I do is, if I'm lucky enough to travel and get on a plane, I usually get on the plane, and you can't really, unless depending on what you're flying, you're not really accessing the Wi-Fi every time. So I won't be listening to like records I like. I'll go through all those notes that are just random numbers or whatever. And I'll go through, and whatever I think of, what comes to me, what speaks to me throughout that song, I'll put keywords of those songs, something that conjures up an image or something, and I'll write it down. I'll rename each one, and then I'll go back through and kind of like figure out, like, this is a bridge for this moment, this is a verse, and this is a chorus, and I can kind of Frankenstein's monster those babies together that way. But I do a lot of I call it song mining, when you're going through all the demos that you've done, and that's just kind of rough ideas, but yeah, there's all different ways to skin a cat, right?
Right.
If you are out there in the business of skinning feline furry friends, I don't advocate it. The Silver Boy says, do not skin your cat. Okay.
Yeah. You can only do that once.
Only once. Yeah. That's not for me either. Yeah. I love animals, but yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's an expression. So we love to make music. We love to create. We love being artists. I'm very, very blessed to have an amazing band here in town now. I've been working with for a few years, and boy, am I lucky, because I've had all sorts of different bands, and there's always somebody, there's always something. But when you have it just right, count your lucky stars, because not everybody has that. And yeah, this past weekend with the release party show, it was just, like I said, it was magic. So I'd like to thank Dave Urema, my keyboard player, Johnny Gleaton, who's been playing with us on bass guitar, Christian Page on second guitar, Matthew Warren on drums, Mary Rogers on baritone sax, Ben Johnson on tenor sax, and Mr. Fats Kaplan's been playing pedal steel. But we can't forget Jesse Thompson, who's been playing bass for us for many, many years, and he's been out on the road with Margot Price a lot lately, doing sound with her. Yeah. So we've had Johnny been playing in his absence, but Jesse's definitely part of the family, and so are the people that played on this record. Silver Boy, the first version of this band, Peter Landy was playing drums. He played on half the record, and when he moved over to Toronto, Canada, Justin Hoffman played drums on the rest of the record. Other than that, I pretty much played everything on the album. but those drummers swapped out on certain cuts of the record. So it's all been part of this story and all been part of this journey with Marco with Love and now the Silver Boy.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Well,
Cheers.
cheers. I would like to talk about doing videos and shorts and that side of your artistry after we take a quick intermission.
All right, y'all. I just wanted to hop in here and take a quick little break from this great episode. I know it's a great conversation they're having, but I promise we'll get back to it in just 1 second. For those of y'all who don't know, my name is Harkos, and I not only edit this episode, but every episode here on Two Beers with the Band podcast. But aside from that, I have my own podcast called Music Making Sense Podcast, where it's all about music marketing, branding, and how to have success. Real success as an independent artist. And every single week I'm dropping all kinds of great tips and tricks for independent artists that you can use to help you grow a real and sustainable fan base online, because I know a lot of independent artists struggle with the online growth, getting themselves out there and starting to get that attention that's going to help them get a real fan base. Okay, and I can help you out. Every single week I drop all kinds of tips and tricks on all the platforms, streaming and especially over on YouTube. And aside from that, I also go live every single Wednesday on YouTube exclusively and review independent artists' music and give live in-person music marketing review and pointers as well too. So if you're an independent artist or you happen to know some independent artists, such as all these great artists that come by Two Beers with the Band podcast, make sure you come check out Music Making Sense Podcast, available at musicmakingsensepod.com. That's where you can find all the links to all the streaming platforms, all the social media, and to the YouTube channel as well too. So musicmakingsensepod.com for any and everything Music Making Sense Pod. Make sure you come on by, check it out, learn some stuff, and help yourself grow a real and sustainable fan base with all the great knowledge that I put out on a regular basis. And of course, if you have any questions, y'all know how to reach me, musicmakingsensepod.com. Anyway, I'm going to get back to this great conversation. Let y'all enjoy it. See y'all later.
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
What kind of shop?
We started as a retail boutique, and we were doing pop-up shows in our venue, like a little small, but we ended up kind of flipping it. And now we're doing more venue and less clothes. Like, so we style artists. We dress people. We're shooting music videos there, and we're shooting. So it's a creative think tank over there. My wife's a sculptor and a painter, and we're working really hard to grow the business. Now we're starting to do weddings now too. We have a little elopement chapel in there too. So it's a venue.
Really?
It's a venue. It's a mini record store, bookstore. It's an event space. So people rent us for videos, photos, parties, birthdays. We're doing dresses and my wife's making dresses for new brides, and I'm doing suits for men. So we have really nice Italian suits.
Because I've passed by there so many times.
You're like, what the hell are they doing in there?
Yeah. Because
Why do you never stop? How come?
Why have I never stopped? To be honest with you, you're not open when I pass by. Because
Mondays and Tuesdays were closed.
I keep some weird hours.
Yeah.
Because of both my jobs.
Yeah.
But I actually have been planning on making a point to go to some of these small establishments that I've never been to.
Yeah,
but
you dig it. It's beautiful. And it's like somewhere in between David Lynch and John Waters. And it's got this Nash Vegas thing. Like, we were married by an Elvis impersonator in Vegas. So we're bringing a little bit of that kitschy kind of thing to Donaldson. And we've done countless videos. We've done live sessions. We've sold a lot of records for a lot of bands touring through. So we're a community space, too. But we're a boutique as well. So vintage clothes, new clothes, records, books, and now we're surviving because of rentals, because retail sucks. Like, retail these days, everybody's ordering bullshit off Temu and Amazon and all that. So
yeah,
we're surviving by renting. And it's so beautiful and laid out. Like, people will come and shoot. So we have hourly rates, 2-hour minimum, style thing for, cinematographers or models or whatever to come do their thing, because we've curated it so bad. It's badass.
Now, do y'all actually do any of the video, or is it you just lease a space and let them?
We've got a couple people that do video, like will film for us. We've done jobs where we've just done it on our phones.
Yeah.
But we have like nice cinematographers come in and do things. We hire other people if the budget is allows. But people bring in their own people, or they can I have some of this?
Yeah.
They have depends on the client. Some people are like super indie and don't have much of a budget, so it's like, all right, we'll help them out if we have, we've got like some smaller light kids and
so people could.
You could people like rent it and shoot there,
and you could
listening parties for labels, all sorts of stuff.
You could film, well, not you per se, but you could have a beautiful space at a good price that an indie artist could come in and film a music video.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
And you create the space.
Yeah, my wife and I. She's the brains behind the. I mean, we both have some cool stuff combined to kind of make the space like as beautiful as it is. But it's like, a lot of time. We put our blood, sweat, and tears into this place, and we work our asses off. And I still work a bar job on top of running that.
Gosh, man.
Plus the multiple bands, and yeah, it's a lot.
How much?
And we have a 2-year-old.
Just your 2 jobs.
Yeah.
How much time do you spend, do you think, in a week just working?
What, at the jobs?
Yeah.
Well, I'm working the bar like 2 to 3, sometimes 4 times a week, 6 to 12 more or less, getting home by 12:30. So probably like at least 28 hours a week in the bar. And then like when you own your own business, you're open, unless we close because we need to do things like this and office hours and all that. So Mondays and Tuesdays we're closed, and that's either, we're doing private rental things. We're going out and shopping for groceries or that kind of, things you do for the house.
Yeah.
Picking things for the like treasures to sell, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But we're doing everything DIY, so it takes a lot longer. We don't have budgets to go spend on a bunch of new stuff. It's all like repurposed.
Yeah.
So it's a lot, and some days are harder than others, but we're surviving. And the format we're doing now with the hourly rentals versus just, we used to do a bunch of shows and hope for the best that we'd sell enough tickets and to not only pay the artist but also pay ourselves, but we were losing so much money doing it that way, and it wasn't really feasible for us to survive that way. So we're a lot smarter with it after the first couple of years of being in business. That's the Mirror Network, and we have our own YouTube channel. You asked about like videos and stuff.
Yeah.
It's all we like the nicer stuff that we film there. We put up on our Mirror Network, which is MMTV. So we're kind of doing a little throwback to MTV. But
Okay.
Mirror Network. We're called Mirror. And all our socials are Mirror Network. So you can we find somebody that we want to work with, and we hire and bring in the crew to do something beautiful. My wife or I direct. We both produce. And then, or somebody just hires us and it's just a job,
Right.
But we can't help ourselves. So if we're there, we give a lot extra than most people would do because we care.
Right.
Even if it's like not necessarily our style of music or whatever, we'll do it because we'd rather be creative and artistic for something we don't really care for rather than just like doing something else, rather help some young artists, even though it's not our cup of tea.
Right.
But when it is our cup of tea, we go all out and put it like major hours into it, and it looks badass. We've been doing stuff for Sierra Farrell, her.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've done a couple videos for her.
Really?
Yeah, that are getting us a lot of attention on our channel.
Wow, I'm definitely going to have to check that out, because just the outside the store is very unique.
Yeah.
And I make sure every time I pass just to look over there, because I'm trying to figure out what are they doing in there, and that name means something.
Yeah.
And
Did you see what the logo says on the bottom?
No.
It says mirror, mirror, and if you like were to stop and like look at our sign, it says see for yourself. So like you gotta stop, you gotta come in and see for yourself. I could describe it all day, but until you walk through those doors and kind of like experience, what we've built, and that goes for any version of what we've done. It's always been pretty magical in there. It's just the mix match patterns and rugs and tchotchkes and memorabilia, things that we've collected, shows we've been to. So like not unlike what you're doing here, but like, I got really big into collecting shows that I really dug and had them framed properly. And so I've got a lot of that, shows I've played, albums I've done, that kind of stuff. It's kind of my archive in a way.
Yeah.
And I have my Outright Rock records, so I've released a lot of stuff. So different press stuff on us there and things we've done together. My wife and I have a project called the Serpentines that we play in together, like a punk garage surfy band. She's a drummer.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff's up on the walls, and things of our family, and it's fashion. So it's like a lot of clothes and leather, black leather. You'll see. You'll have to see sometime. Have you been on our website? You should check out the website. There's some stuff on there. mirrormirrornetwork.com.
I'm going to do that. And I'm definitely.
By the way, are we on? Are we on right now?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I'm definitely going to have to drop in and check that out. So Monday and Tuesdays are no-goes.
Yeah, Mondays and Tuesdays are our office hours. We're going around doing our thing or being with family. But you might catch us around the property on those days sometimes because we're working on something behind closed doors. But like I said, we do a lot of videos and private rentals, everything from listening parties, from record labels hiring us to an indie artist wanting to make a video or some project that we're working on for ourselves.
Do you think video is important for an indie artist?
Video is the future. Yeah, it's the new radio.
Well,
Videos,
I agree with you.
Yeah, it really
100%.
is. Yeah, I mean, if you're not having a visual aid to go along with your song, you're doing your artistry a disservice. You're doing your record a disservice because unfortunately, whether you like it or not, people are going to hit that click, unless, again, there's exceptions. There's going to be a song where close your eyes, you don't need any visual aid, and you get somebody like Adele or like we're talking Sierra Farrell.
Yep.
She's got that magic
Yeah.
in her voice. Not everybody has that, you know. Everybody's different. But yeah, definitely you should try to make a video, or you should try to make a cool piece of art, or take a picture and use that, or make a lyric video, whatever you got to do, something silly, something that makes it more bearable for yourself, because most of us don't really want to do it. I don't really want to have to spend as much time as I do like with the social media stuff. It's not because I'm like getting off on the likes or anything, that kind of dopamine release just so fleeting, and just it's so cheap. And the real thing is when you're in a room with something amount of people that you've curated, put together, putting on a performance, and that is the most rewarding thing, is like that live connection, that symbiotic relationship between the band or an artist and the audience. That's the best. But do it for yourself. Make cool videos, make art out of your life. Find the humor and the humility in everyday mundane tasks, and somebody in some small town is going to find, or large city is going to find that fascinating or hokey or funny. And you never know. We all watch stupid shit, don't we?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, the hours I've spent doing that
is
ridiculous. It really is. But man,
You're saying that to the guy who's sitting here in a silver mask. I've spent a lot of time doing some weird shit too.
right?
Yeah.
Right. But
this is what we get up to.
But I like the mask. I like I like the whole outfit.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
It all works together.
Thank you.
And for those of you who have never listened to this man's music, you have got to check it out. And after you do that, remember what you saw here. Then it all makes sense.
Absolutely. Chris speaks the truth. Yeah, you can pick up this record directly from Mirror Mirror Network. You can order it from our mirrormirrornetwork.com website, and we'll send you the vinyl directly ourselves. And if you ask nicely, I might even sign this lady's face. You can pick it up also in Donaldson at Analog Your Life, which is our local record store other than Mirror Mirror Network. We've also got copies over at Grimey's in East Nashville. We got copies at the Groove in East Nashville. We got, speaking of beer, you got copies at Vinyl Tap. I'm sure you like that spot. Have you been down there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're cool too. So you can pick up the records there. And, but for now it's only available on Wax. So get yourself a record. We only got one song out right now called Make Believe. There's a video on YouTube, but, you can find all my music at marcowithlove.com. And, yeah, keep an eye out for the full digital release in the fall for Silver Boy.
Okay.
Yeah, but pretty much everything is at Marco with Love.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where you can find me. And we haven't announced any next shows or anything, so we'll be getting creative and finding new ways to get the music to you and doing more things like this and meeting more people and trying to write more.
All right.
That's what we do. It's been great to hang with you today,
Man,
Chris.
I've had a blast.
It was fun. Thanks for the beers.
I would love to have you come back and do this again and talk more about Mirror Mirror, talk more about albums, talk more about art. I mean, I'm down.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, I appreciate the hospitality, and yeah, definitely, we'll come back another time. But mirrormirrornetwork.com, that's where you can find out everything that we're doing over there for the community. And yeah, thanks for listening to this podcast. And thanks for, if you've checked out the music, thanks for listening. And thanks for having me, Chris.
Yes, anytime.